What if one small decision could shape the future of an entire mission? What if the person you almost overlook becomes the one who carries the message forward? What if preparation, obedience, and humility matter more than talent alone? As Paul begins his next journey, something quiet but powerful happens. He meets someone unexpected. Not a famous leader, not a well-known teacher, just a young man with a good reputation. His name was Timothy. He lived in a place called Lystra, where faith had already taken root despite hardship. Timothy wasn't starting from nothing. He had been raised with faith, guided by his mother and grandmother, shaped by scripture from an early age. But even with all that, he was still unknown to the wider world. And yet people noticed him. Not because he was loud, not because he was impressive, but because he was consistent. The believers in Lystra and Iconium spoke well of him. They saw something real, something steady, something trustworthy. And Paul paid attention. Now think about that for a moment. In a world that often rewards attention, visibility, and influence, Timothy stood out for something quieter: character. Paul didn't choose him because he was the most obvious candidate. He chose him because he was ready. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. Before Timothy joins the journey, Paul makes a decision that might seem confusing at first. He has Timothy circumcised. Why? Wasn't the church just freed from the requirement of the law? Didn't the council in Jerusalem clearly say that salvation is by grace, not by following traditions? Yes. So, why would Paul do this? Because this wasn't about salvation. It was about mission. Timothy had a unique background. His mother was Jewish, but his father was Greek. That meant, in the eyes of many Jewish communities, Timothy's identity could raise questions. It could become a barrier, a distraction, and Paul knew something important. Sometimes what is not required can still be helpful, not to earn anything, but to remove obstacles. This was not about compromising truth. It was about maximizing impact. Paul understood that if Timothy was going to walk into synagogues, speak to Jewish audiences, and help spread the message, this step would make the path smoother. And Timothy agreed. That says a lot. He didn't argue. He didn't resist. He didn't say, "I don't have to do this." Instead, he chose humility over comfort. He chose purpose over preference. He chose to be part of something bigger than himself. That's not easy, because most of us want our rights. We want to hold on to what we deserve, what we're allowed to do, what we don't have to give up. But Timothy shows a different way. A way of surrender, a way of readiness, a way of quiet strength. And so he joins Paul and Silas. 3 different men, 3 different backgrounds, one shared mission. As they travel from town to town, something powerful begins to happen. They don't just preach, they strengthen. They deliver the decisions made by the apostles and elders in Jerusalem, helping the new believers understand what it truly means to follow Jesus. Not a burden of rules, but a life of grace. And the result? The churches are strengthened in the faith, not weakened, not confused, stronger. And their numbers grow daily. This is what happens when clarity meets obedience. When truth is lived out with wisdom. When people step into their calling, even when it costs them something. But let's pause here for a second. Because Timothy's story is not just about joining a journey. It's about becoming the kind of person who is ready when the opportunity comes. No one forced Paul to choose Timothy. There was no announcement, no application, no spotlight. Just a life that had been quietly built out over time, faithfully, patiently, consistently. And when the moment came, he was prepared. That's something many people miss. We often want the moment without the preparation, the calling without the process, the impact without the discipline. But Timothy reminds us that who you are when no one is watching matters. Because that's what shapes what happens when someone is watching. Paul saw in Timothy not just potential, but reliability. Not just enthusiasm, but endurance. Not just belief, but action. And that combination is rare. Now imagine being Timothy, leaving behind everything familiar, stepping into uncertainty, traveling with leaders who faced opposition, danger, and rejection, knowing that this path would not be easy, and still saying yes. That's courage. Not loud courage, not dramatic courage, but steady courage, the kind that keeps moving forward even when the future is unclear. And here's something even deeper. Timothy didn't just join the mission, he became part of the legacy. Later, Paul would write letters to him, encourage him, guide him, trust him with responsibility. But it all started here, with a simple decision: to go, to follow, to serve. And sometimes that's how the biggest stories begin, not with a grand entrance, but with a quiet yes. So what does this mean for us today? Because most of us are not traveling from city to city, preaching in synagogues, but we are all on a journey. We all have moments where we are invited into something more, a responsibility, a challenge, an opportunity. And the question is, will we be ready? Will we be the kind of person others can trust? Will we choose purpose over comfort? Will we be willing to let go of what we don't need to hold on to so that we can move forward more freely? Because sometimes the greatest growth doesn't come from doing more. It comes from surrendering more. Letting go of pride, letting go of resistance, letting go of the need to always be right, always be comfortable, always be in control. Timothy didn't need to prove himself. He needed to prepare himself. And when he did, everything changed. The mission expanded, the message spread. Lives were transformed. Not just because of Paul, not just because of Silas, but because one more person said yes. And that's how it works. The story continues because people step into it. The mission grows because people commit to it. The message reaches further because people carry it. So maybe the question is not whether you are called. Maybe the question is, are you willing? Willing to grow, willing to learn, willing to serve, willing to be shaped even when it's uncomfortable. Because the path is not always easy, but it is meaningful. And when you walk it with faith, something powerful happens. Not just around you, but within you. Strength increases, clarity deepens, purpose becomes real, just like those early churches, strengthened, growing, alive. Because of obedience, because of unity, because of people like Timothy. People who didn't wait to be perfect. They just chose to be faithful. And maybe that's the invitation for you today. Not to have everything figured out, but to take the next step. To say yes to growth, to say yes to purpose, to say yes to the journey, because you never know who might be watching your life, who might be encouraged by your faith, who might be impacted by your obedience. Just like Timothy, a quiet beginning, a powerful future. And it all starts with one decision. Thank you for watching this video. If this message encouraged you, don't forget to like, follow Holy Path Insights, and share this video with someone who needs it.